Alright y'all, what's good? Chaos here, and today I'll be teaching y'all how to read with Lance. Now keep in mind these clips are like from when I have been playing before, so I can't really edit them as I'm speaking, so I'll do my best. If I mess up some combos, that's just gonna how it's gonna be, but I'll be trying my best to teach y'all how to read with Lance, so we gonna get into it. Let's have fun. So these clips kind of like weren't in order, but I'm gonna start off with the best possible reads. So as you can see, I had Ogrim set to dodge out. You've got a couple of reads like sidelight nair repeat, sidelight, I think sidelight dare, and then you wait. Like the thing about reading with Lance is that you just have to wait for your opponent to do a move or an option, and then you go and you punish it. So I go here and I change the damage back to 0 to show y'all what kind of combos you can do. So there's all sorts of combos. This one was specifically for dodging out, but you could take a little peek at these combos at which I'm doing, so you can see which ones you do if you do catch your opponent dodging out. Because the thing is, if your opponent's good, they're not going to always be dodging out. They're going to be mixing up their options and going for different dodges. If your opponent does happen to have a habit of dodging the same way, you can use these combos to catch them. So the biggest thing for me is like when I'm fighting against my opponent, I'll like jab them, so I'll do a neutral light, and then what I do is like what Kozilek will do is I'll wait to see what my opponent does and punish accordingly, right? So here, I think after this, it all depends on what your opponent does. So that combo that I just did, I learned that off of a chosen bot. So if your opponent happens to spot dodge, you could use your exhausted recovery to get that exact combo. It's not really optimal because it does waste your options. So if your opponent does happen to punish you out of mid-air or like gravity cancels, like you wasted your recovery. So it's not really an optimal move to go for. But nevertheless, it's another read that you can do depending on like what dodge your opponent does. So basically what I'm trying to teach you here is all the dodges that I'm having the bot do and the combos I'm doing accordingly is combos that I'm having you look at, so that when you're playing Lance you could see what combos you can do in accordance to your opponent's dodge. Now obviously if you don't have the muscle memory to pull these off just yet, that's fine, but you can find other methods that suit you that can easily punish your opponent's dodge. So as you see, I've got the dodge out. I put it on random. So for this little sequence was just to get you to understand that when your opponent's mixing up their dodge, you want to wait. You want to wait a little bit, not too long, want to wait a little bit so that you have enough time to punish your opponent accordingly. And whether you do so correctly or not, you can even get a 0 to death off it. So you just need to pay attention to what way your opponent's dodging and how you punish it. This one's here is more of just more dodge reads. So there's a spot dodge, so just showing you different combos you can do when your opponent does certain dodges, all the combos that you can do. I think the easiest for beginners would be like sidelight dare into neutral light, because it's a quick 3-piece, it doesn't take too much effort, and you can it's a decent amount of damage just to get your opponent afraid, like that right there, just to give you a poke and prod and give you a little bit extra damage. You can do sidelight dare into wait D-light neutral light, because D-light to neutral light is true since they have no dodge. The little extra stuff like the gravity cancel sidelight Sair after the sidelight nair after the sidelight nair, like that's stuff you do later on. Obviously a sidelight nair reset wouldn't work as well in early percentages. That's like a kill confirm. So you sidelight nair, gravity cancel, sidelight nair, recovery. Using the sidelight nair gravity cancel in earlier percentages won't really net you. Like you have to wait a really long time. Like that's a hard read, and it doesn't really lead to any other combos either. Your biggest advocate for you is Nair. Nair is what is going to get you the best. So here I have it set to dodge up. Dodge up is probably one of Lance's best options to read, because you could do Sidelight Dare and then jump Sair. You could do Sidelight Dare into Nair, or you could do D-Light into jump Sair. Like, it all depends on, like, you have so many options. You could even do Sidelight Dare, and then you could dash jump and then dare again. I was trying to do Sidelight or Neutralite into the chase dodge Nair, jump chase dodge Nair, but I started realizing as like I'm doing this that it doesn't hit, because they're so like they're just out of the hitbox range for Nair as I'm chase dodging and letting out the Nair. However, that is still a read that you can do when your opponent spot dodges. So you could catch spot dodges or dodge outs or dodge ins, depending on if you do Neutralite or if you do D-Light, for example. D-Light could even work, but you don't want to use that when they're dodging up. You usually just want to stick with Sair. You want to jump Sair. Like, that's your best option, because that could lead into 0 to death opportunities, like the one you just saw. That could be a 0 to death. Like, because if you dash jump and then you dare the opposite direction, so it's like double dare. If you dare one way, then you dash and then dare the other, usually your opponent will jump after that, and then you can continue to Sair them, and then down air, and then Sair. So here I've got it on Chosen Bot just to show you how kind of adapting to your... Now, this Chosen Bot was low-key whooping my ass, but that's besides the point. The point I was trying to get here was, when you're playing, you kind of want to pay attention to what your opponent does. Now, obviously, this is a Chosen Bot, so I can't really explain to you as good as I can, like when I'm going up against a player, which is what I'll show you next. But the thing to note is that, like Chosen Bots, they'll wake up a lot, and there are some players who are actually like that. So once they're waking up, you can basically do what you do if they dodge in. If they wake up, you dash back and then punish. So with this Chosen Bot, it's like he's wake upping, so I'm just gonna try my best to play around him and punish. And he basically killed himself trying to go after me, but I wasn't finna keep fighting that Chosen Bot, so I put him back to stand. I wasn't finna deal with all that. He was getting on my nerves. Now, say for instance you have an opponent that is playing around you, right? And you sidelight that opponent. Now they'll try and, like, you have a, like, basically passive. They'll try and disengage from you, right? Well, you don't have to play an aggressive game with Lance, right? You could just Neutralite, and then you can back away, and you can wait. You can Neutralite again, and you can back away, and you can wait. Like, you don't have to be aggressive per se. Like, I like to play an aggressive kind of Lance because that's just my play style. But you could have all, like, dodge down. Dodge down might be one of the... People think that after you sidelight Nair and they dodge down, you can't hit them after that, which in some retrospect they're right. Like, when you sidelight Nair someone and they're in earlier percentages, you can't really catch too many reads off that. However, when you go into higher percents, such as 110, you have reads like these. That's a kill confirm. All of that is true. So that's gonna be the thing. That's gonna be a read you're gonna want to catch the most. It's sidelight Nair, and then you gravity cancel sidelight Nair, and then recovery. All that's true. You could even do sidelight Nair and then gravity cancel sidelight Sair. Depending on where you're at in the stage, that'll kill. Sometimes it won't. It depends on the character you're playing and the stage you're on, and what side of the stage you're on. You could be flashy and try to switch sides and gravity, but basically, sidelight Nair, gravity cancel, sidelight Nair, recovery is the read you want to go for. You have so many different options, but that is your biggest thing right there. Now we move on. So here I'm going up against one of somebody I met in I think it was friendlies. It was friendly 2v2. And I'm going to show you how my mind was going as I'm playing through this match. So we're picking characters. So keep in mind, actually, I won't even just. I'll wait until we get into the match. I was gonna give you some insight as to how he plays, but we'll wait because this is a learning experience for everybody, right? So when I get into this match, I'm thinking, okay, I have a game plan. I want to see what my opponent does and then punish accordingly. That's how you should play default. Now, when I get Lance, take a look at this, right? I'll neutralite him and he won't dodge. You see? But if I sidelight dare him like this, he'll react to it. So previously, what I would do is I would neutralite him and he wouldn't dodge, and then I would sidelight dare, but he would dodge. This is a game where he started adapting and he started not dodging at all, which is making him take unnecessary damage from combos he could be dodging out of. You see, instead of dodging right there when I neutralited, he wake up and instead side sig me. So I downlighted and he didn't dodge again. And then he gravity canceled side sig, which is dodge, and took damage off that. He's not, you see, now he's not dodging. This was a game after I kept reading him for his dodges. So now he just doesn't dodge at all, which is not really the best thing you want to do, seeing as you could take so much unnecessary damage from not dodging. So I think what he was thinking was I kept waiting for his dodge after I neutralized him, so he just thought that not dodging in general would probably be the best option. I sidelight Nair, and then the moment he dodged, I caught gravity cancel sidelight Nair recovery. As you can see, he couldn't. The only thing he can do off that is jump, and recovery goes far enough to where it'll still catch. So it just all depends on what you're doing and how you're playing, because your opponent will make these blunders and you have to wait and punish accordingly. And he did another wake up and he took so much damage from that, and I caught the kill. So here's another match that I go and play, and I'm playing with Ogrim. This match, I played a little bit of Axe, but the premise is still the same, right? You wanna, it's a little hard because of how fast-paced the game is, and your opponent might be the rush-down type of person, but you still want to pay very close attention to what your opponent's doing. You see, I neutralized him on Axe, and he didn't dodge after that. You see, like when I'm tapping him, he's not dodging, which is making him take damage he doesn't need to take. Like, he'll sit there and he'll wait for me to approach, but one thing you need to learn is that you don't have to approach. You could just stay back, and you could play semi-aggressively, but you don't always have to approach them so that they can punish you. But what I'm trying to explain here is that he's dodging way less frequently now, and when he does dodge, I catch it, which is probably what prompted him not to dodge at all that last game. So I took this stock with Axe, and I'm going to switch to Lance now. Fairly soon. I guess I was feeling pretty good on Axe because I haven't played Ogrim all day. But see, again, he didn't dodge after I neutralized him, and he's not really dodging after any of the hits I give him. He's using his dodges on gravity cancels and chase dodges, and not it like he. You know how you have attributes in some character games where you have all attributes in offense and not defense? That's kind of how he was playing. He was using his dodges for more offensive tactics instead of using them for defensive options, such as dodging away or using a wake-up attack. You see, that's what makes it so hard for someone to try to play, I guess, a different play style, because he was trying to switch up his play style. So as you see, I neutralized it there. He didn't dodge, and instead uses his dodge for a gravity cancel D-light. So he wasted his dodge, and I caught his jump with my gravity cancel side sig. So it just all depends on what your opponent, because it's like, for me, he wasn't dodging at all, so much so that when he did, I caught his dodge every time. I was like 3 for 3. So you want to pay very close attention to what your opponent's doing, and that goes for any weapon like greatsword. Greatsword relies solely on like dodge in, spot dodges, and dodge out reads because they're such a horizontal grounded weapon. Weapons like lance kind of focus to where you're in the air, like spear, lance, cannon. You want to be in the air. So now I pick Vrax. Now this is a game that I want you to pay really close attention in, because this is where Lance's strings come into play. The strings on Lance are very good for building up damage. You got Sidelight Dare, Sidelight Nair. On Vrax, D-Light Neutralite is true. Oh my god, that does so much damage. I'm glad they gave it to him. But you just want to pay attention to everything your opponent's doing, but also watch out for yourself, because you can have a habit of dodging a certain way and your opponent will subconsciously catch on to that. Like if you dodge in 2 to 3 times, like you can get caught by that, right? So you see I just neutralized and then I Sidelight Dared. So he dodged when I Sidelight Dared but didn't dodge when I neutralized. So for me it was like, okay, I can build up damage by neutralizing because he's not dodging. So when he did dodge after Sidelight Dare, I caught him with the Neutralite. He couldn't dodge after that. So for me, I just use this knowledge as like, okay, I know how to build up damage. He won't dodge after I neutralize him, so I can use this advantage to find more damage to eventually get the stock. Now, this game I played a little bit more aggressively than I usually do. Probably because I was trying to get a clip, but you can see that like this guy, he only dodges in like situations where he knows he's gonna get comboed. Like if he's getting hit, if he's getting neutralized, he refuses to dodge, right? But it just all depends on how and where he's getting hit. So you just have to pay attention to stuff like that. And there, I got the kill. So you just need to pay very close attention to the little things. It's the little things, like what options your opponent does out of hit stun, or what options your opponent will do after they dodge. Like you gotta really watch, because that will tailor the rest of your game. Like if you have an analytic play style, it'll be easier for you to take notes on what your opponent's doing mid-game, especially like during a set. During a set you don't have much time to figure out what your opponent is doing, because if you lose a game, you only have so many. So for players like that, it's easy for you to break down what your opponent is doing and apply that to your next game, because then that's how you can use that knowledge. Like say for instance you have a throwaway game. Throwaway games like where you build, you try and catch information and lose the game pretty hard, but you have the information for next. You use that information for your next game to start chunking at your opponent. Like you'll start really cracking down on your opponent. Like that's what you want to do. Like if you have a ranked match and you're building info up on your opponent and it was really close but you lost, but you catch that rematch, now you know what your opponent does, now you know which way they dodge, now you know what they do out of dodge, so now you have a better opportunity to catch them in their habits. Now we're looking at this gameplay here. I'm on Scarlet, he's on Mordex. You see what he did right there? Take a look at that. I neutralized him, and instead of dodging to get away from me, he used that to use a gravity cancel. So he has a way more aggressive play style than me at the moment. It's just what you need to realize is that a lot of people don't have this aggressive play style, and some people will be passive and some people will be really like they'll play a lot back. For him though, it was really good for me because it's like I knew that he wasn't going to aggress on me out of hit stun. So after I'm neutralizing, he wasn't dodging because he was trying to get away from me. So that way I can reset from him, because after that I know he's going to come after me. So I can neutralize and I can back away, and then he'll aggress on me, but I'm already knowing he's going to go do that. So then I'll have an accurate punish. As you can see, I punished that side sig. So it all depends on the situation. It's like everything's situational. So he catches me, because Scythe is one of my weaknesses, right? He's catching me in the air. He's like, his in Scythe, air to air gameplay is my weakness, despite the fact of me playing Lance. But I was in disadvantage, so that no wonder why I was taking so much damage. Right there, he used another gravity cancel to attack me instead of trying to get away from me, which would be like a dodge away. So I'm kind of leeching off his aggressive playstyle, and because he's going for things that's not true, things that I can dodge out of. He caught me with the down sig, that's good, he caught that. But I've already got a solid read on his habits, so it's easier for me. Like, he'll dodge after like a side like Dare, but you see he doesn't dodge after a neutralite. So it's not ideal for him, because in some situations like that you can still get red. But because he's like, you see, he's constantly using his gravity cancels to attack me, and just based off that alone, his dodge was gone and I took the game off that. So you have to know when to use your gravity cancels and when to use your dodge, because your dodge is very valuable. Okay, you can't be wasting it on, because think about it, his spacing wasn't as good either. He wasn't really near me. So you just have to pay attention to where you're at and where your opponent is at. Spacing is a whole nother thing that we can get into, but for right now it's all about reading. You have to read your opponent. Like, as Stingray said, doing nothing is also an option. Like, doing nothing, technically what he's doing is an option. I'm still reading that. It's just that, like, even on X, I'm neutralizing him and he's not dodging. Like, there are some type of players where they won't dodge if they're getting hit by something and like neutralite, but if they're getting hit with a string, then they'll dodge, which is why this is what you want to look out for, so that you know what to do in situations like that. So it just all depends on where your opponent's at and what your opponent's doing, because depending on because you could be in disadvantage, right? You could be a disadvantage, you could be off stage, and your opponent will still aggress. Your opponent could waste a dodge on you, like a gravity cancel, trying to aggress on you off stage, and if you have a weapon that could gimp, like gauntlets, that could be the game. Like, it's situational. You have to know where you're at and what options you have left. Like, see, he tried to use a gravity cancel and I punished with a down air. Like, it's situational awareness that you have to have. Like, I'm playing around him, certain moves that he has. Like, he's being very aggressive. He's using all his dodges to gravity cancel on me, and that's the habit that he has, which is why I caught his down, like his ground pound with the down air. It's like, I know he's going to be aggressive. I've already have that preemptive thought in my mind that, okay, every dodge he uses is going to be to aggress on me, and he's not going to have any options left for when I actually catch him in a string. And that's the things you want to look out for when you're fighting an opponent, because once you catch that dodge, if you know what you're doing, you could take your opponent's stock like that, and you just have to know what you're gonna do. And just like that, I took the game. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.